Good evening. Welcome to South Asia Newsline. I'm Yeshichanzam. Here are the top stories we are tracking for you on Tuesday, the 1st of June. Industries resume work in India as COVID-19 restrictions ease. PML-N rejects suggestion of delay in elections in Pakistan-administered Kashmir. And security situation in Afghanistan remains challenging, says NATO chief Stoltenberg. And now for all the details. India on Tuesday reported its lowest daily rise in new coronavirus infections since April 8 at 127,510 cases over the past 24 hours. As the new reporting of coronavirus cases started to subside in India, an unlocking process began. Industries also resumed their operations. However, doctors are now grappling to stem a rise in cases of mucormycosis, also known as black fungus. As new reporting of coronavirus cases started to subside in India, an unlocking process began. Industries also resumed their operations. Industries in Gujarat state were allowed to operate during the peak of second wave in most part of the state, but the operations were still shut because of disruption in supply chain due to lockdown in other parts of the country.
तो अल्टीमेटली ये अभी 3-4 वीक के अंदर कुछ प्रोडक्शन खास नहीं हुआ है, हाँ, लेकिन सरकार के इंटरवेंशन के हिसाब से अभी धीरे धीरे रिवाइव हो रहा है. जैसे महाराष्ट्र में थोड़ी थोड़ी छूट-छाट दी जाएगी, शायद गुजरात में तो ऑलमोस्ट इंडस्ट्री चालू है, बट जो छूट-छाट दी जाएगी तो सप्लाई चेन मेंटेन रहेगा. अगर सप्लाई चेन मेंटेन रहता है तो यहाँ का जो बना हुआ प्रोडक्ट है वो एक्सपोर्ट करने के लिए वहाँ पे ट्रेडर खुले रहेंगे, तो अपने आप वो सिस्टम पूरा चालू होगा.
The industries were also supplying its oxygen for medical purposes while the migrant workers fled to their hometowns, fearing loss of employment during the lockdown. However, the situation for industries is slowly returning to normal now.
सेकेंड वेव का असर कम हो गया है. अभी मेडिकल ऑक्सीजन का डिमांड बिल्कुल कम हो गया है. 100% जो था वो 10% रह गया. 90% में हमारे हिसाब से डिमांड कम हो गया है. तो अभी इंडस्ट्रियल ऑक्सीजन का डिमांड ज़्यादा है, लेकिन अभी सरकार की गाइडलाइन के हिसाब से दे नहीं सकते.
Meanwhile, India reported on June 1 its lowest daily rise in new coronavirus infections since April 8 at 127,510 cases over the past 24 hours. The South Asian nation's tally of infections now stands at 28.2 million. However, doctors in the country are now grappling to stem a rise in cases of mucormycosis, also known as black fungus. Mucormycosis is a fungal infection that causes blackening or discoloration over the nose, blurred or double vision, chest pain, breathing difficulties and coughing blood. Moving on, Altaf Hussain, the founder leader of Pakistan's Muttahida Qawmi movement, has accused journalists belonging to Punjab province of suppressing the voices of minorities amid reports of ongoing media curbs in the country. His remarks came in the backdrop of an attack last week on Pakistani journalist Asad Ali Tur, who has been critical of the army's role in politics.
Altaf Hussain, the founder and leader of Pakistan's MQM, the Muttahida Qawmi movement, on Monday accused journalists belonging to Punjab province of suppressing the voices of minorities amid the reports of ongoing media curbs in the country. In an open letter, Altaf Hussain, who lives in exile in London, said, "Sadly, journalists from Punjab should not have been impartial and should have reported enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings of Baloch, Sindhi, Pashtun and Muhajirs who fell prey to oppression and barbarism. They can now better realize the pain and agony of oppressed nations of Pakistan," he said. The letter came in the backdrop of an attack last week in Islamabad on Pakistani journalist Asad Ali Tur, who has been critical of the army's role in politics. Tur has blamed Pakistan's spy agency, the Inter-Services Intelligence or ISI, could be behind the brutal attack on him.
आज मेरे खिलाफ झूठे प्रोपेगेंडे में फौज के आप लोग नहीं आते तो आज असद तूर पर कोई हमला नहीं कर सकता था, अहमद नूरानी पर कोई नहीं कर सकता था, एजाज सैयद पे कोई नहीं कर सकता था.
In the latest, a prominent Pakistani political TV talk show host, Hamid Mir, was suspended from his regular program on Monday, his media group Geo News Network said, following comments he made against the powerful military for its role in media censorship after the attack on Tur. Critics say the crackdown is part of a campaign to coerce Prime Minister Imran Khan's opposition and silence critical voices in the media to prop him as the military's protege. Both the military and Khan deny the accusation.
More news from Pakistan. Opposition Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Party on Tuesday rejected a letter by the country's National Command and Operations Centre suggesting postponement of the elections in Pakistan-administered Kashmir for 2 months due to coronavirus pandemic. PML-N leader Shahid Khaqan Abbasi blamed a rigging attempt was being made and questioned the role of the health authorities in elections.
PML-N, the Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz Party leader and former Prime Minister Shahid Khaqan Abbasi has rejected a letter by the country's National Command and Operations Centre suggesting postponement of the elections in Pakistan-administered Kashmir for 2 months due to coronavirus pandemic. Abbasi, while speaking to reporters in Islamabad, alleged that a rigging attempt was being made by Prime Minister Imran Khan's ruling PTI government as he questioned whether the health authority talking about a delay in elections is constitutional.
ये एक मिली भगत है धांधली के लिए वही चीज जो गिलगित बल्तिस्तान में की गई आज आजाद कश्मीर में दोहराने की कोशिश की जा रही है.
The NCOC had written a letter to the Chief Election Commissioner of Pakistan-administered Kashmir on Monday, suggesting a delay in elections, raising concern that large political gatherings due to elections will lead to further spread of deadly virus in the illegally occupied region. The term of the assembly in Pakistan-administered Kashmir will end on July 29, but so far the schedule for the new election has not been issued.
Moving on to news from Afghanistan. As foreign forces continue to leave Afghanistan and end a deployment launched against Al-Qaeda and Taliban forces in the wake of the September 11, 2001 attacks, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg has said that the security situation in Afghanistan remains very difficult and challenging. However, NATO is stepping up their effort to support Afghanistan in other ways, he added.
North Atlantic Treaty Organization NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg on Monday said that the security situation in Afghanistan remains very difficult and challenging as the US and other NATO troops withdraw from the war-ravaged nation. Addressing a press conference in Brussels, Stoltenberg said that the decision to withdraw NATO troops entails risks, but also to stay would have implemented risks for its alliance with more fighting and more casualties. According to Pentagon officials, the withdrawal of US troops is up to 25% complete. US President Joe Biden announced in April that he will withdraw all American troops from Afghanistan by September 11, but officials in Washington have said that the pullout might be completed earlier than the given deadline.
The security situation in Afghanistan remains very difficult and challenging. Of course, the decision to withdraw our troops entails risks. But also to stay would have implemented risks for our alliance with more fighting, potentially more fighting, more casualties, and even the need to maybe increase the number of troops. So therefore we made the decision to end our mission within weeks.
While reiterating that Afghan forces are now responsible for the security in their own country, Stoltenberg mentioned that NATO is stepping up its support to Afghanistan in other ways. Meanwhile, back in Kabul, efforts are underway to resume the stalled peace talks in Doha and form a Supreme State Council to lead the peace process with the insurgent group Taliban and make decisions on it. However, violence remains high as Taliban continues to carry out attacks every day.
Moving on to news from Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has launched a criminal probe into a massive container ship MV Express Pearl fire last month that has swamped the island nation's coast with plastic pollution in an unprecedented marine disaster and has appointed a 10-member team of detectives to investigate the situation.
Sri Lanka on Monday appointed a 10-member team of detectives to investigate the incidents surrounding the MV Express Pearl container ship fire that has swamped the island nation's coast with plastic pollution in an unprecedented marine disaster. The vessel had left Hazira port in India on May 15 and was on its way to Singapore via Colombo, carrying chemicals. It was anchored off Colombo when a container caught fire on May 21, officials said. According to the police, the Director General of the Marine Environment Protection Authority filed a complaint with the Harbour Police on May 23 over the environmental destruction caused by the fire on board the foreign vessel. Officials recorded statements from the captain and chief engineer of the vessel at the hotel in capital Colombo, where the crew is undergoing quarantine. Earlier, Sri Lankan Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa made an inspection visit to the coastal area in Usweta Kehiawa on the outskirts of the capital Colombo, which is affected by the debris washed up from the fire-ravaged container. He issued directives to the officials to expedite the provision of relief to the fishermen affected by the situation and concerned authorities to take all necessary measures to protect the marine environment.
In news from Nepal, a woman from Hong Kong set a record of becoming the fastest woman to scale the Mount Everest, the world's highest mountain in Nepal, by challenging herself and successfully scaling the peak in a time duration of less than 26 hours.
A former teacher from Hong Kong, Sen Ying-hung, recorded the world's fastest ascent of the Everest by a woman after she scaled the world's highest mountain within a time range of 25 hours and 50 minutes earlier this month. She beat the record set by Nepali woman Phunjo Jangmu Lama in 2017, who climbed Everest in 39 hours and 6 minutes. After arriving back safe from Mount Everest and setting a record, Seng said she succeeded in her mission by challenging herself and working hard on it.
Sure, for my first time is definitely because of my student. I just want to show my student, even you got a really high and hard target, if you try to train step by step. And of course, there's a lot of challenges and difficulties, but whenever you want to do something, you have to just persist and never give up, and finally you can achieve it.
Seng's achievement came after Nepal, which receives millions of dollars in income from climbers every year, issued a record 408 Everest permits for the April-May climbing season after closing the peak last year due to the pandemic. Meanwhile, Nepal reported 561,302 infections and 7,386 deaths since the outbreak began, according to government data.
As India combats a raging second wave of the coronavirus, a special camp was organized in Siliguri city of India's West Bengal state to vaccinate members of the LGBT community to protect them against the virus. Around 200 members of the LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender community were vaccinated against coronavirus in a special camp organized for them in India's eastern Siliguri city on Monday. The participants who reached the camp to receive their first dose expressed their happiness on receiving the vaccine amidst 94,898 active cases in the state.
वैक्सीन हम लोगों के लिए इम्पोर्टेंट बहुत है, जो हम लोग कम्युनिटी बहुत जो सेक्स वर्कर का काम करते, तो उन लोगों को प्रोटेक्शन के लिए वैक्सीनेशन बहुत ज़रूरी है.
वैक्सीन देके बहुत अच्छा लगा. हम लोग का कम्युनिटी का जो है थर्ड जेंडर जो कम्युनिटी का है, सिलीगुड़ी में तो किसी को नहीं मिला था. आज से मिलना चालू हुआ, हम लोग को मिला. फिर नेक्स्ट कल हमारा ग्रुप का जो हम लोग का सदस्य है उनको भी मिलेगा. हमारा आज भी बहुत सारा आए हैं, हमारा सदस्य को सबको मिल रहा है, हमको बहुत अच्छा लगा.
The LGBT community members in the country struggle to get decent employment opportunities as they are highly stigmatized. As a result of sneakers, abuses and bullying, they are often forced to drop out of educational institutions and are left with limited choices of occupations like begging. Well, that's all we have for you from South Asia this evening. Now viewers can watch the show on SouthAsiaNewsline.com. You can also visit us on Facebook.com/AsAsiaNewsline and follow us on Twitter @AsAsiaNewsline. That's all in tonight's edition. We will see you same time tomorrow. Good night.